All right, everybody, welcome to Status Quo, your home for gaming trends past and present. And this is episode 7. Going on 7 consecutive weeks. So I am Mars Vindicator, and I'm joined by
Queasy Crayfish.
And so while we, of course, did a live stream last week with the Sony press conference and, talked all about that, we wanted to talk about a couple other things that had to do with E3. We also wanted to kind of go more in depth with some things that we saw in E3. So we had some great topics that are all kind of E3 centered today. And we also have, of course, everybody's favorite, flake news, which is also surrounded around, E3 or announcements that came out around that time. So, that's pretty much my intro. Quizzy Crayfish, you have any other introductory statements you'd like to make here in episode 7?
No, I'm ready for some flake news.
Ready for that flake news?
It's been too long already.
There it is. And we got some good topics. Hopefully we don't ruffle any feathers today. We might even ruffle mine. We might even ruffle Queasy's. You never know. So here we go. The first thing I want to say. I'll start off by saying this. All of these announcements were from E3 or the days kind of surrounding E3. And none of these are like the biggest announcements. Okay. None of these are like the biggest ones. One of them is quite big, but so these are all like in some sort of way, kind of a quote unquote minor announcement. Okay. Some of them kind of got flashed in, but people maybe didn't notice. Some of them kind of, weren't at the actual conferences. So, all right, here we go. So the first one is Dragon Ball FighterZ on the Switch.
A good move. It's a good move. It's a very popular fighting game. I think it got the most entrants at EVO actually this year.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I mean, why not?
There it is. Now, I don't necessarily look at the Switch as a competitive fighting game system.
No, that's true. I know that the D-pad leaves a lot to be.
What D-pad?
Exactly, leaves a lot to be desired.
Better buy that Pro Controller.
The quote-unquote D-pad. Yeah, Pro Controller I could see that. I don't know. You imagine like arcade stick, Switch arcade stick. That'd be kind of cool.
They need it. All right, so we got that. Okay. Let's see. How about Battlefront 2? Learning from their mistakes, and now they're going to bring us the Clone Wars.
That's kind of cool. It's funny because everyone used to hate the Star Wars prequels, and now it's like they have this second coming renaissance where everyone's like, oh, those movies weren't so bad compared to, The Last Jedi and all that stuff. So I'm excited for that. I don't play Battlefront 2. I guess I should clarify that. So, but it's cool to see like those characters because I feel like they've just been totally ignored and abandoned up to this point with all the new stuff coming out. Everyone, it's just original trilogy and the new characters. And there's like, no Obi-Wan, no Anakin, no Grievous, none of that stuff. So, hopefully now we'll get to see those characters get some love for once.
Right. Okay. All right, cool. So, so we got the Clone Wars there. All right. How about the Fist of the North Star Yakuza game is coming to the USA?
Well, I should just throw that back to you. That's you were the one extremely excited for that. So
that is true.
I don't know anything about anime or anything, so I mean, it's cool. I guess that it's coming out.
I'm hyped for it. I guess honestly, the thing I'm most hyped about is the fact that so as you guys may know, there have been other side Yakuza games, particularly 2 games that were based on different periods and like more historical Japan, and those never came to the US. So I still doubt those will come, but I think that Fist of the North Star comes to the USA shows that, the Yakuza series is really, taking hold. It shows that Fist of the North Star, for whatever reason, still has a bit of a fan base here. But at the same time, Sega is one of the only companies, and I kind of, in a sense, I kind of like this because it reminds me of the past. But at the same time, I kind of hate that they're pretty much the only company now that still has these translation lags. So what I'm most looking forward to is when Sega finally just starts releasing the Yakuza games in both regions at the same time.
Yeah. I
You
know because
know,
6 what has been out already for like a year or more, right, in Japan.
like I think no, I think it's like it's either like 2 or like maybe even more.
Oh my
It was like
god.
a while. I'm pretty sure 6. I know 0 was like that for sure because that 0 came out in the when did zero come out in the U.S.?
I have no idea. I've only recently, I mean, that's the shows how popular the series has become. I mean, I heard you talk about it and stuff in the past, but I only recently was like kind of like, oh, I really should check this out because it's kind of all over the place.
Right. So yeah, so yeah, so look, so it came to the US in January 24th, 2017, right?
Hmm.
It came out in Japan on March 12th, 2015. I knew it was quite the break because I moved back to America from Japan in May of 2015 and I brought that game with me.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was quite ridiculous. So yeah, so maybe the gap for Yakuza 6 wasn't as bad, but it's still. Yeah, it came out December 8th, 2016.
Yeah, I mean, it's still bad. It's not
Yes,
as bad.
exactly. We're talking about PS1 JRPG type stuff.
Right. Exactly. Or Albert Odyssey.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like, let's get it together. All right. The next one here is Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive 6 is coming, and they're changing it from sexy to cool.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna call flake news on the second part of what you said there because they said that with Dead or Alive 5. Remember that the whole ad campaign with that was like, I'm a fighter, and it was all about, I mean, I guess it
That's
still
true.
was a little bit sexy because it showed them all like sweaty and everything, but yeah, they made a point that like, oh, this is gonna be about the fighting and it's not gonna be about jiggling and everything. But so they're making that same point again, but who knows, once all the DLC starts coming out, it might just revert back to what we know about Dead or Alive. I hopefully not to such an extreme degree because 5 really got out of hand and it was really
Way out of hand.
yeah. I mean the if you just look at like the DLC listings for that game, it's like pervert city, and so I'm kind of excited to I will probably buy this game or at least try it out at some point because I've never really gotten into. I feel like I say this all the time too, just as a side note. Whenever we talk about games, I'm always like, I've never actually played that or whatever.
You better start playing some more games.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, I'm excited to try that, and especially if they do commit to more of a just a cool image instead of just jiggling physics. Because I mean, not to say that I don't like that, but do I need that from a video game? Do I need to does that do anything for me? No, it's just silly. And
and you see, and the thing with Dead or Alive, now Tekken, Street Fighter, they all in different incarnations have jiggling breasts in them, But what we get with Dead or Alive is it almost kind of takes the center stage, Cause I mean, Soul Calibur also can get quite. Yeah. I mean, Ivy every time, Sophia every time, Taki. They got pretty. I mean, they were pretty Dead or Alive level at one point.
Yeah, that's true.
But it never totally took center stage the way it does with Dead or Alive.
Wasn't Soul Calibur? They were the ones that didn't they? It was like an official art piece where it showed all of the female characters and all of their cup sizes and I feel that was like an official release.
It probably was. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think it was maybe before 4 came out, but yeah, I remember thinking that was ridiculous at the time. Like, whoa, okay, I see that Ivy is bigger than Sophia. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that information?
Right. Yeah, exactly, right? Our trolls are based on this, So yeah, it's ridiculous. All right. Now, this last one, I will say that, I was a bit smitten, during the press conference, and maybe I let this announcement kind of, get me out of hand and make me a little happier than I should have been. But it is the announcement of both Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, and the possibility of them being next gen.
Yeah, the next gen thing is weird. Because I don't know if has there been a confirmation either way on that yet.
It's not. It has not been.
I mean, I feel like I think you're right in saying that everyone just calls this next gen, even though it's current gen at this point. I mean, it's we're well into it. We're some people say we're towards the end of this generation, but it doesn't feel like we are. It feels like this is just going to be the way it is for a while, and maybe we'll only see incremental changes from here on out. But that would be interesting to see. And I think a game like Elder Scrolls 6, it might just be that big. That it needs it needs next gen hardware, it needs next gen sensibilities. So that is definitely possible. And if Starfield is the same way, then that could be pretty epic as well.
And that and that is true. I will say that I'm not a big fan of huge series skipping generations. I'm not a big fan of that at all.
It's true, but Skyrim, is just on everything, so it just feels like Skyrim's just been this thing.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, because I've gotten Skyrimmed out, and like I said, I was very happy about that announcement. But the more I thought about it, I do like reveals. But yes, what good is this reveal now? What will be different from them revealing this game to me next year? Because I think this is a classic Square Enix reveal, right? They brought this out to us this year, and then they already tell us it's next gen. So I'm sure next E3 we're going to get a whole lot of Fallout 76 DLC, whatever it is, whatever is going to be coming from Bethesda. And we might there's a huge possibility that we'll go another E3 without seeing anything from the Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, because he said specifically the Starfield is coming first.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, so why even announce it now? It's like I'm sure Sony had planned in some sort of way to make the PlayStation 4 in 2002, right? Like I'm sure they didn't think, we'll be done with PlayStation after the 3, but yeah, so it's like, we will make PlayStation 4. Metal Gear Solid 3 has not come out yet, but we will make PlayStation 4. Like, it's like, why announce it now?
Yeah, it was almost like something to kind of push their press conference over the edge, as far as like, because without that, it's still a pretty good press conference, but it doesn't have, because the whole theme of the conference, or the whole feeling throughout the whole thing, was like, you're here to see, like, he kept bringing up like, oh, we know what you're really here to see. And then they would do like misdirection, like, you're here to see what we're going to do with Skyrim again. And that was like a whole joke thing. Although apparently they did actually release the Alexa version of Skyrim.
Yeah.
But and then, he goes on again, we know what you're here to see. You're here to see new IPs. And so then they show the Starfield thing, and they say, okay, we know what you're really here to see is, Elder Scrolls. And they didn't even have a subtitle for the game, so we don't even know where it's going to be set. I don't know what other regions are available in that world or anything like that. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of details, and I don't think we're going to be getting any for a long time.
Probably not. And I even saw one place said that they'd use it as like press conference insurance, like in case everybody was ticked off with, Fallout 76, at least we told you this, so yeah, it is what it is. All right. So that's enough flake news for one day. Let's get to the nitty gritty here. So one big game that came from a company that I really like, Sony, was Death Stranding. And this isn't just coming from Sony, it's coming from Hideo Kojima, the old, the guy at the forefront of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And, Queasy Crayfish and I, we kind of had a little debate there as about, who's had the best press conference. We both were happy to see content from Death Stranding, but I think that, maybe we both approached it in different ways. But what I think is just true for the both of us, as well as the rest of the gaming community, is that we finally got this gameplay trailer of Death Stranding, and we still have no idea what it is. So I just want to take a little bit of time, as some of us. I mean, now I've played every Metal Gear Solid game. I hate admitting this all the time, but I had never completed Peace Walker. I feel like I'm a subpar Metal Gear fan, but I didn't complete Peace Walker. The Quizzy Crayfish here has played. You played one?
I played 1, 2, 3. I played a little bit of 4. I played 5. Never played Peace Walker.
Okay, but I mean a good majority of the series,
Oh yeah, one,
console
two, and
ages.
three. I mean, when I think of Metal Gear Solid, that's what I think of. One, two, and three.
Right. And so from what I saw from Death Stranding, the games that are most similar to it, to me, I think are Metal Gear Solids 3, 4, and 5. It looks like recent Kojima. It really, especially 4 and 5, maybe just because of the way that, I mean, because it's great HD graphics, kind of the movement of the characters.
Yeah, exactly. The animations.
Yeah, exactly, the animation. So it really reminds me of those. And so from that trailer, Queasy Crayfish, what did you make of Death Stranding? What do you think this game is?
It's hard to tell. I mean, just going off of what I saw in the trailer, it looked like some kind of thing where I remember seeing several shots of the main character. I believe his name is Sam, played by Norman Reedus. And it was like he was carrying lots of stuff on his back at one point. And then in other shots, he was carrying less stuff. And so it seemed to be like, and I think this kind of ties into some things that I've read, that it's about, I guess Kojima was making the point that instead of games being about like fighting people, or I guess he was making the analogy of like the first two tools that humanity supposedly created. And the first one was a stick, which was to, fight off bad things or keep bad things away from you. And the second was a rope to hold on to the things that were important to you. And he wanted to make this game based on the rope concept versus instead of the stick concept. So I think it has something to do with kind of like managing the kind of stuff that you're carrying or something like that. I've also heard that your character is a delivery man of some sort. So there may be something to do with, like delivering supplies to people, figuring out how much stuff you can carry, or, how many things you can take along with you at once, and having more or having less impacting your mobility or something like that. So I think there's definitely going to be some kind of very simple, not in a bad way, but simple gameplay mechanic revolving around that will be built up into this much larger thing that will encompass the story and everything like that. So that's kind of what my take was on what the actual gameplay is going to entail. As far as the story, I have no idea. There seems to be some kind of post-apocalyptic landscape going on there. And I don't really know. I mean, the details are scant, but there's a lot to do with strands, strings, things like that. As far as these aliens or these ghosts or whatever these creatures are, that like you can see they're like connected to the sky somehow or something by these strands, quote unquote. And so I'm sure there's lots of lore to be built up, and we probably won't really get all the answers until we actually get to play the game.
Most definitely. Well, yeah, and that's always a truth about Kojima games. I mean, there's almost no way Metal Gear Solid 2 could have come out in this day and age, because I feel like in this day and age, we show trailer, and even though that game was one of the first who kind of popularizing the trailer, they obviously didn't have very many of them, because they never showed us any of like the 90% of the actual game, because none of us knew about writing,
No.
So it's most definitely, I do most definitely agree that we probably won't even know a lot about this game until it actually does come out. Now, as a longtime Kojima fan, I mean, I would buy any game that he makes. Because I didn't just play Metal Gear Solid. I mean, I've also played Zone of the Enders. I do own Police Nauts. I haven't really played through it that much, but I do think that it looks really cool. So I'm really down for anything that Kojima makes. Now, one thing that I think, I'm sure Sony is aware of this, and this may be what Konami was probably thinking about when maybe Kojima, if he ever pitched this idea to them, was that while Metal Gear Solid is a very strange, really science fiction, unpredictable tale of sorts, it's still very easy classifiable as like an action stealth military game.
Yes.
So like to the blind eye, Metal Gear Solid probably doesn't seem much different than Call of Duty. And I said that because I remember having like a demo disc, and I think the demo disc, it may have had Siphon Filter on it as well, or Siphon Filter may have been out at the time, but I remember like trying to these two games are like kind of competing. But then once you actually play Metal Gear Solid, you realize like, no, this game is absurd.
Exactly.
And so I think that a lot of those strange concepts worked with a series like Metal Gear Solid because, number one, there were very few other big, huge games out like that at the time anyway, because, Metal Gear Solid was one of the first games I played on that demo disc again when I got my PlayStation, and I was coming from the Saturn. So I was coming from things like Knights, coming from things like Sonic 3D Blast, coming from, very, simple fighting games that, that were good in terms of fighting, but not in terms of modes, to like a literal blockbuster adventure with Metal Gear Solid, right? But again, the initial draw is always going to be that action. So how is Kojima going to draw people to this game if it in fact does come out that the basis of this is you are a delivery man?
Yeah, well, and maybe it won't work. I mean, that's something that we have to consider, because I think probably one of the main reasons that Konami really started to have problems with him is I think that he tends to be very self-indulgent in the kind of content that he wants to create. And I mean, we happen to like that about his games. We happen to like that they are very personal, I think, and they do reflect a lot of his interests and, crazy ideas that he might have. But from a business standpoint, Konami is looking at it and saying, hey, who knows? I don't know the full story behind Metal Gear Solid 5, but I assume that he was probably spending lavishly on the development and wanted to continue even more. And Konami had to, come around and say, hey, we need to put this game out. We can't have this protracted development cycle every single time you come out with a Metal Gear Solid game. And I feel like also it had been kind of, for a long time now, I think Kojima had been feeling a little constrained about, what he could do with the Metal Gear Solid series, because, for going from 2 onward, I mean, you can see where some of the themes start to get more and more abstract, and he starts to do really strange outside the box things, which I love. Like, I love that, like, 3 was completely different from 2 and 1 and 4 and, everything onward. And I love that, 4 took that gamble of like, let's make Snake really old and let's, make him kind of frail and weak in some ways. And I think that's, he's great at that kind of stuff, but it may get to the point where he's got his own production company now. He's got basically, he can do whatever he wants. Maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's just too crazy. Maybe there isn't enough here for the average gamer to connect with. We don't know. I mean, we certainly don't know what the game even is about in Death Stranding, that is.
Right. No, exactly. And, and that's, I think that's a gamble that, yes, I think a company like Sony, I guess, is more willing to take on, because they do have a lot of, different first party franchises that have a lot of different fan bases, and they know that every single one of their games is not going to be a Grand Theft Auto 5. Every single game is not going to be a Call of Duty Black Ops. They're just looking to sell a bunch of different experiences, and this definitely fits right in with them having their different experiences. And I mean, and it needs to be there because Metal Gear Solid has always been a huge part of the PlayStation.
Yes.
So it makes sense for PlayStation owners to have this experience. But, it's just, the idea that, back then, you guys think Metal Gear Solid, the first Metal Gear Solid, that was on plenty of demo discs. It got so much, press. It was all over. So, of course, even, comparably, well, I should say not comparably. We know that game did not sell as much as a Call of Duty would today, but comparably, it probably did pretty well. I'm sure comparably, it probably did well. Maybe, better than what something like Metal Gear Solid 5 did, comparably in this generation, because it has so many other things out there. So, overall, I know that I'm really excited to see Death Stranding. I'm going to love it more than, I know I'm going to love it, when it comes out. I've loved everything that Kojima has made, but I just wonder that, maybe Sony's going to give him so much money and it may not make as much back as he intends it to.
Wouldn't it be crazy if the game just like sucked?
Right.
It was just like a disaster.
Oh, well, okay. Okay, now it was now when you say sucked, you mean in terms of like sales and stuff?
I mean, I could see a scenario where it was just like way too convoluted and the story made no sense and it was, off pretentious and off putting or something like that, which I feel like in that scenario, I would probably still like the game because
exactly.
I like crazy pretentious stuff and I like Kojima's creativity and imagination. But so yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that. Like, I'm just excited to see what kind of weird, because I like weird abstract stuff and metaphorical things and allegorical or whatever. But definitely. I
definitely think that's actually, I'm actually kind of thinking that's what's going to happen. Like, it'll come out and it'll just be this strange ass thing that, is such a far cry from Fortnite, that just people are not going to be playing it. And like me and you and like 3 other Metal Gear fans I know will be playing it, and that'll be it.
Yeah, because sometimes movies will come out and people they'll get these bad reviews and it'll say like, oh, this movie is pretentious and self-indulgent. I remember Only God Forgives. That was one of them more somewhat recently that's got these terrible reviews and people saying it was just, this guy thinks he's so sophisticated and it's pretentious and blah, blah. And I watched it and I was like, oh, I love this movie. So that kind of stuff appeals to me. So I'm actually hoping that happens. I'm hoping people just hate this game and we can be the Death Stranding contrarians.
Right. Tell them how good it is. So there it is. All right, guys. So, okay. So maybe now we have a slight bit better idea of what Death Stranding is. Not actually really, come on. So, all right. Now our next topic is going to be another game from the Sony showcase again. And we want to talk about it because, we saw the game come out and we had our initial thoughts of what the game was going to be. But then after a bunch of news came out, we learned that, wow, like this could be a totally different game. And that game is Sekiro. And actually, I stand corrected. That was from the Microsoft press conference, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, Microsoft showed it, which is part of the reason why I really like their press conference, which we will get into in our Hyperstorm podcast. It's a great time to plug that, Hyperstorm. So we are, of course, part of Hyper Evo. We're going to be doing one of our episodes of Hyperstorm, the podcast with everybody from Hyper Evo. So if you want to hear more about all of our E3 thoughts, me, Quizzy Crayfish, and the rest of Hyper included, check that out. But
and where can folks listen to that?
Oh, SoundCloud, as always. SoundCloud, same place to listen to this.
SoundCloud, Hyper Evo. Evo. Yes, exactly.
It is. So, but yeah, so this is from the Microsoft press conference. So Sekiro, initially, so it's coming from Software, the developers of Bloodborne and Dark Souls, basically the Soulsborne genre creator. So when we saw it and we saw like a little bit of gameplay, it looked like a new Souls game set in, a fictional feudal Japan, very similar to Neo. But as time has gone on, we've heard a bit of different things about. We heard like some news about it that it's basically not going to be a Souls game. There will be a jump button. You'll have a grappling hook. That you won't create a character. There won't be like a bunch of weapon changes. And I mean, there won't be souls. I don't even know if I said that. I'll say it again. There won't be souls.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that actually.
Oh, you didn't? For real?
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what
there's
they said.
No souls or even some equivalent thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they said that. Like that there's like no souls and Sekiro, something like that.
It's messed up.
Right.
Rip souls.
Exactly, right. So, Well,
I feel like that, people are saying all this stuff now. It may be the case. I mean, Bloodborne, when that came out, people were like, "Oh, this is so different." But with time, it kind of got absorbed into the Soulsborne series, and I'm sure this game is still going to be a Souls-like in some ways. Because I mean, there's the Soulsborne series, which is considered kind of a cohesive thing, and I mean, not so much in terms of story or plot or anything like that, but in terms of just gameplay essentials. And then there's also the Souls-like genre, which includes things like Neo, The Surge, Lords of the Fallen,
a little bit of God of War,
right? Yeah. I mean, the reach extends far beyond that. We got Code Vein coming out. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of others that take lots of elements from those games, and those are, sometimes very diverse and sometimes do include things that are very different from that. So this is more of a Souls-like, I feel like it's going to end up being, than part of that direct series. And that we saw some definite distinct differences. I mean, the way the game looked, it looks a lot more colorful, a lot brighter than, something like, deep inside of Yharnam and Bloodborne or something like that, where it was just dark and depressing and everything's got, rain-soaked cobblestones and all that stuff. This game looked a little more colorful, a little more fanciful. Not to say that the subject matter isn't still dark. I mean, the guy's got like an arm that's basically just a bone. Yeah. So, and I'm interested to see how they implement some of these gameplay changes, because I think they've proven now. I mean, From Software wasn't always the greatest developer, and I think we see that. I mean, if you go back to the early Souls games, I mean, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, they all definitely have a lot of issues as far as like just, ease of use, and there's a lot of kind of clunkiness sometimes, especially in Dark Souls 2 with the combat. Dark Souls 1 has a really poor menu system. So they always were kind of developers that I think, had good concepts, had good execution in some respects, but they always had kind of these issues. And I feel like they got lucky a lot as well, that their games just happened to kind of click, because they could have easily fallen apart without without a good sense of art direction and aesthetics and everything. So I feel like, but they have grown up out of that. And I think Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne really demonstrate how they've kind of learned from a lot of their mistakes, and they've learned how to become a big AAA developer in some respects. So I think this game will end up being good, and I am eager to see, how it plays and how it differs from that series. I'm not someone that's going to get mad that it's not like Dark Souls. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted. I want something new. That's usually what I'm after. I'm after, like, I don't want just the same game in the same series over and over again. I would like something new, something that's kind of different. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and I will definitely try it out. I like the feudal Japan atmosphere and everything, and it's good to see it.
See, now there it is. And so, yeah, I mean, I played a couple of Souls games, but I've never been as big into them as Queasy Craven has, but I do like them a lot. And so, yeah, so there that is, it is definitely going to be a different game. And so when all this news came out about the game, even aside from the fact that you play as a ninja, it really reminded me of games like Shinobi, right? Like almost like, if Dark Souls are like 3D versions of something like Castlevania or Metroid, then Sekiro is going to be a 3D version of something like Shinobi, where, I mean, of course, we all know that one of the big things about Dark Souls is that the player gets better, but to some extent there is a bit of leveling, right? Your character does get stronger. So in this, it seems like it'll be like raw, kind of like,
yes.
if you don't get better, then that's it,
Yeah, there's nothing to fall back on.
Exactly. So
they did say I think you can upgrade armor and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I mean, if you go back to those Shinobi games, yeah, I mean, there's very little that you can really do to improve your character, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh no, yeah, there's like nothing,
so you just have to get good.
Exactly. The game gets harder, you got to memorize things. And so, I think that in it, so, yeah, it may not even have a lot of the Souls, series, like classic things in it, but, I mean, it will definitely have that situation where, the player has to keep getting better at it. It won't be kind of like a lot of the older, third person action games on the PS2 where, you just keep leveling up, you get all these new abilities, and, you kind of stay almost as good as you were at the game start, just because, the character's gotten stronger. You will have to become stronger. So, I'm definitely excited to play that. I think that that's very dope, and I really enjoy the setting. I think that, I all I wanted was a samurai game for this generation. We finally got Neo, so now we need a ninja game. I mean, Ninja Theory isn't making Ninja Gaiden anymore, not Ninja Theory, Team Ninja.
Team Ninja, yeah.
Isn't making Ninja Gaiden anymore, so, we need a ninja game. So here we have it.
Yes.
From Software people.
It's funny because I would have thought that they would be more samurai oriented, but they're going to Ninja Land. Got lots of these kind of games coming out now too. Yeah, I mean, there's Neo, there's Ghost of Tsushima, there's Neo 2.
Neo 2, right.
Now this, so I mean, we got the feudal Japan thing covered.
All right, so Capcom,
Deep Down.
Fuck Deep Down. I'm over that. Yeah, like what exactly? Like where is that? Like that.
Where is that? That's not even.
Like,
come to think of it, that's not even the feudal Japan. That was like medieval Dark Souls stuff. But Onimusha. That's the funny because when that trailer came on for Sekiro, I thought, "Is this Onimusha?" For a second, I was about to throw things if that was the case because that would have been crazy. But
I would have loved that. You see, and exactly, I don't know for sure if Deep Down has been, confirmed canceled, but this is exactly what I'm saying. This is what I was saying about, Elder Scrolls 6. It's like they brought Deep Down to, this is Tokyo Game Show 2013.
Mm-hmm. It's extensive too. There's like a lot of footage of that game of people playing it and stuff. It's not just like some little trailer or something. There's actual footage of gameplay and stuff.
Exactly. And it just, it just doesn't exist. So it's like, so what? Yeah, this is the definition of development hell, development limbo. This is pretty much vaporware at this point. You know what I'm saying? Cue the vaporwave. So now, our last topic of the day, as you said, this is all about E3, we're talking about E3. So again, Kwizu Crayfish and I, if you listen to the last episode, after the PlayStation press conference, we have a bit of a disagreement there, about which press conference we think, took things. And from my understanding, I think Kwizu Crayfish was more fond of Sony's presentation. And despite the fact that Microsoft showed a lot of multi-platform games, so I'm excited for a lot of the games in the Microsoft conference. I'm also very excited for the games Sony showed and for the games Nintendo showed, and some from Bethesda, right? So there's a lot of ones that I'm, excited about. I would say if I had to choose one with the most games I'm excited about, it would definitely be Sony's. But I felt that presentation-wise, and because of a couple other things, I enjoyed Microsoft's press conference the most, right? So as I said before, we're going to get into why we liked it, liked what we liked the most in our Hyperstorm. But I do want to talk about, more so objectively. Well, not objectively, but, what kinds of things should be in an E3 press conference? I think, I think we very much so focus on reveals, trailers, and then release dates. But, as we saw in Nintendo, they've been doing this like pre-recorded video. Is that as cool as Microsoft and, Ubisoft developers getting on stage and talking to us? Quiz Crayfish?
That's a very complex question. I think there's a lot of demonstrations from this E3 of what's good and what's not good. I definitely would hear arguments that Xbox had the best presentation. Personally, I was more interested in the games from the PlayStation show, but that's neither here nor there. Just from an objective standpoint, things that I don't like at these conferences are the music. I don't know.
That's something that, I definitely want to touch that.
Yeah, I don't know why. And this is not, PlayStation did it. They did it twice, actually. They did it with the I believe it's called the shakuhachi or something like that. I forget exactly what that flute is called. That the guy comes out and plays. And then there's also the banjo. Yeah, the banjo, which were like extended and they weren't like melodic or interesting at all. It was just like someone, fiddling around on the banjo. And so that was kind of like, right. Like a weird way to start. And I guess they did bring it full circle with, the Last of Us trailer being set in the same place as the conference at that point. But even so, what did we need the banjo, the protracted banjo solo? No. Like, does it add anything? Right. I guess I definitely don't like the idea that we're gonna, this press conference has to be like this performance piece or anything like that. And we saw that also with Ubisoft with their extended dance routine by this Panda Bear thing. At least that was kind of plugging a game though, with like Just Dance, I believe.
Well, but
still, like,
but it's just Dance.
Yeah, I know, but like it just went on and on and on and on. And like like the music was all right. Like I didn't mind it, but it was just like, I'm here to see games, I'm not here to see a dancing panda. And the worst, in my opinion, though, even worse than the banjo, was Bethesda with the god awful Rage 2 heavy metal bizarre performance that was just, it just went on and on. And like, the lyrics were ridiculous. He was just screaming like, "You better get ready to die. You better get ready to kill." And I'm just like, what? Who likes this? And they're cutting away to the audience. It was almost as if the people running the booth, and switching between cameras were conscious of this, because they were picking the worst shots of the crowd, because they just kept picking these people that looked like just dumbfounded and confused by this whole thing and not entertained at all. And it was just like, first of all, no one's excited for Rage 2. Obviously that's hyperbole, but I'm not excited for it.
That wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know anyone that's even played like Rage 1 or anything. I didn't think it was that well received. And so the idea that you're going to come out with this big, crazy heavy metal show for the sequel to that game that no one's hype about, and then expect everyone to just get hype, it just seemed stupid. And in fact, counterproductive, because people hear that and, they came here to see trailers, they came here to see announcements, and they have to sit through these extended musical numbers that, it's really bad. Really bad.
No, and so that's that's where I definitely 100% do agree. That sometimes what happens with these E3 press conferences is they come out and they want to bring this thing that is supposed to tie into the game, but it ends up just being so just so ridiculous that it almost kind of takes away from it. And and though I felt Microsoft did a great job this year with their with their press conference, they had a moment like that. I think it was last year, when they were promoting, of course they were promoting some Forza game, and they brought out some car. They were like, "This is the first reveal of this car to the world," and we brought out E3. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have car shows for this.
Yes.
That's why we have car shows.
Rock concerts for music.
Exactly. Like, this is a video game press conference, so let's see the video games. And so while I do really prefer them coming out on stage and telling us about the games, and look, I get it. If Kojima wants to send out two soldiers to like sneak on stage before he comes out or whatever, that's fine. If you want to play a song for like a second, to bring a game out, that's fine. But like, these people damn near have like separate performances. It's like they come out that guy played that banjo for so damn long. It's like they had to book him. That was damn near a concert. Like, I'm sure there was like 6 people at that damn show who was like, I came here to see the banjo guy because I enjoyed him when I saw him playing Montana. Like, it was ridiculous. So yes, we get it. Games are huge now. Games are big. They make a lot of money. So you want to get these, lavish introductions, but let's stick to the games, so I most definitely do agree with that. Now, when it comes to some other things, again, I get it. I definitely get it. Video games are video games, and, people like different games, and, I'm not, I'm not the sole fan of games, right? So things should be different. But Ubisoft, like, why would you even open your conference with Just Dance? Maybe I'm wrong, but in my eyes, the group of people who go to E3 and that are really into watching, like, the E3 conferences like a hawk, I don't think are necessarily the same group of people that are buying Just Dance.
No,
I just don't. I think you get, get a lot of, exactly. I think you're going to get a lot of, 25-year-old, liberal yoga fans, or, mothers, or very small children who watch cartoons on YouTube. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Just Dance sells a lot. I know it's a big game for Ubisoft. I do get that. but I just don't think it's that group of people.
Yes.
Who
I mean,
is watching that? So
yeah, if you're watching E3 live, or better yet, if you're at the show, if you were on the floor at E3, chances are you're not there to see Just Dance.
exactly, so I'm not saying don't have it in the show. I'm not saying don't have it in the show. I mean, this is one of your big games. Bring it out, announce a trailer. But I just feel like those soccer moms who are looking to get their kids Just Dance, they're not gonna get it. I don't think they're going to be more hyped for it. It's like, oh, I seen a marching band and, it came out and I was going to get it. Versus if they just showed a regular trailer. Now, look. Now, if Ubisoft wants to go on Ellen DeGeneres and bring a marching band with pandas, fine by me. You know what I'm saying? If Sony wants to go to CMT and bring out Banjo Man and introduce now that makes a little bit more sense. It's kind of like when like when McDonald's makes R&B songs for chicken nuggets on BET. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay, you don't have to see this on the regular channels, but now we're going to pander, so let's make rap songs for chicken nuggets. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's that cool, but it makes sense. You know what I mean? At E3 though, like I don't think I don't think McDonald's sings those chicken nugget R&B songs at like food conferences. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they do that. Right. I don't think that's the way it works. So yes, stick to the games. Definitely stick to the game.
It's funny you would mention food conferences because that kind of, I feel like that kind of leads into my second big problem with some of these shows was EA's show it felt like a big conference for shareholders and it felt like look at all the carefully calculated things we're doing that are going to make us lots of money, and it was like low risk abusing and squeezing money out of existing franchises and existing platforms. With the Battlefront 2 DLC, a very PR kind of thing. There was lots of apologizing, and it felt just incredibly fake and incredibly hollow and just empty words. And I thought that for a better example of how to, because Microsoft kind of had some things to kind of apologize for. I feel like with, previous years, they had made a lot of missteps with these press conferences with announcing things that weren't really popular, announcing things that it seemed irrelevant or just, trumpeting the power of their platform over and over again. And people were kind of upset that there wasn't a lot of game content and there wasn't a lot of it didn't seem real conscious of the players. It was like just, oh, look how fancy our hardware is. Look how, innovative we are. And it wasn't really player focused. And so they came out this year and they had an apologetic sort of tone without coming out and apologizing. It was more like a clarification. It was like, yes, at previous shows, we did show the Xbox One X a lot, and we did talk about how powerful it is a lot, but here's why. It's because we wanted to give you all of these games, on the best possible platform. And I thought that was a great way to kind of pivot and transition your message. As opposed to EA, which just seems so out of touch with everything everything in the industry, everyone who plays their games. It was just terrible.
I mean, was that them that brought Command & Conquer the mobile game on stage?
EA. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they had a mobile again. If somebody came to me right now and was like, cut this podcast shit off, we're going to go make a shitty ass mobile game called, War of the Soldiers, I would be like, yeah, sign me up. Like, I'm ready to make millions of fucking dollars. I know mobile games make a lot of money. Right. But again, I didn't come to E3 to see that shit.
No.
More importantly, I didn't come to E3 to see them disrespect Command & Conquer like that.
Well, and that's the really funny thing about that reveal was like, you could make a really big deal out of Command & Conquer's back. Like you could have a real kind of show-stopping moment for a reveal if it was like a legit game, and you said, hey, here's our next debut, and it comes up and it's, Command and Conquer, 5 or whatever they were up to, and like it could be a big trailer. It could be a big moment to say, oh, did you see EA's press conference? They had that new Command and Conquer game, and that would be awesome. But they took that, and this is what I mean, but them being out of touch, like they have no idea about the way people feel about Command and Conquer. They just see it as like, oh, this is some existing IP that we can, take advantage of and squeeze some money out of. And so that's exactly what they did with that.
Right.
And it was safe. It was safe because they know mobile games sell, and they know people are into that kind of StarCraft thing. And so they did it as safe as possible with as little investment, and boom, there it is.
Exactly. And, because honestly, like I didn't play Command and Conquer, when I was younger. It was always one of those like interesting games that I just kind of saw and was like, man, I don't even think I'm like smart enough to play that. It was ridiculous. If they brought that out today, and made it a big thing, I probably will go get it just based off of that. I love when they bring back old franchises. I love hearing about games from the past. But I'm not about to download that cell phone game.
Nobody is.
I'm not about to do that, And so then who does it touch? A bunch of kids, who have no idea, who think it's just some rip-off mobile game.
Exactly. They have no idea what Command and Conquer is. So what's the point of even calling it Command and Conquer except to have some name recognition?
Exactly, which are just they're not even using well. So, EA I think they were a perfect example of how not to do a press conference. But so we do have that, to go back to this other topic, again, the way I definitely would prefer to take a press conference is games focused, but come out on stage, talk about the games, tell me about the games, but be there, tell me about them. I loved hearing about Smash Bros. Don't get me wrong, but that whole video thing was just kind of, I don't know. It was just a little iffy to me. It just seemed so safe. It just, I won't say it seemed like. I think Nintendo definitely cared about presenting that game, but just if they came and they were like, just like the idea of the reaction of that crowd when you come out and say like, every character ever is in it. People get hype over Smash,
Yeah, that's very true.
That just would have been such a dope moment,
Yeah, I think the crowd is an important aspect of that because you could release these videos any time of the year. I think part of the prestige of going to E3 is to have that big stage show and to get audience reactions. And yeah, that's really how you build the excitement for some of these games. And exactly. With the video only, which Square Enix also did, I think you kind of missed that interaction as well. Because I remember some of the biggest review. The biggest one to me was that Halo 2 in-game demo from whenever that was, early 2000s, and that was, the whole demo was just nothing but cheering and gasps and oohs and ahs and everything, and it was awesome. I remember watching that, countless times and studying it, and those are the kinds of moments that I really get excited about at E3.
No, most definitely, and if you go to my Instagram, another time to plug, go to my Instagram. But if you read my stories, I put out a story about, I post a picture of Genji, the one from the PlayStation 3, and I think it's Days of the Blade. And I talk about how I remember watching that E3 press conference, as with like a junior in high school, and I did not even realize how shitty the display of that game was. Just because I was just so like taken aback by like live E3 live PS3 played on the stage, Mm-hmm. And so, looking back, I could definitely see that it was terrible and it was bad, but like them coming out and like having that system there with that boomerang controller. I wasn't even there, but just, watching it, it was crazy, So they just, Nintendo, great job. Look, again, everybody knows Miyamoto's a legend. You know, him coming out and messing up, like, I guess what, Skyward Sword, or like them doing that ridiculous Wii music thing. Yeah, everybody's gonna have blunders, but that's a part of it, you know. And to me, I feel like those blunders really set the stage for things, because I mean, yeah, you had a blunder with Wii Music. How great was Wii Music? You know, I remember them coming out and showing like the PlayStation Move and some of those like whack ass games, and it's like, how great was the Move? You know, without the VR. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, shit. I mean, it sets the stage. You if you come out, I mean, oh my god, I don't even want to think of how ridiculous the crowd would have gotten if they came out on stage and said every character ever. Yeah. It would have been absurd.
And they could have left it. It could have been a real, PlayStation 1 moment when they came out and undercut Sega with the price on the Saturn. You know, like it could have been one of those. Or Sony is famous for that kind of stuff with just those one-liners. I mean, they came out with the PS4 when the Xbox One was coming out, and said it's not always online, and people went crazy for that kind of stuff. And that's I mean, having the crowd there is like I feel like that's essential. And so I'm not a fan of the video only shows at all.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, it's not like they were really competing for a lot of fighting games, but I mean, they've made a lot of improvements to this game for 1v1 play, even just them showing that like versus screen now, So yeah, they could have just come out and been like, oh, we heard y'all play some of them other fighting games,
but guess what? Everyone's in this one.
Everybody.
And, have a stage demo, have people playing it on stage or something like that. That's something people would be excited to see. I mean, especially as big as Smash is in competitive circles, I'm sure everyone would be excited for that, especially to see like the gameplay changes. I know like Melee players would be, dissecting these videos and, doing frame counts and everything like that. Because that's what's really popping with Smash.
So at the end of the day, if any of you E3 press conference makers are listening, which I know none of you are, but stop with them damn videos. Come out on stage. We want to see you. We don't care if you can't speak English. It's 2018.
There was that one guy. I forget what that was for. He goes, he's right in the middle. He goes, English is hard. And then he let the other guy finish. I thought that was, I mean, but like, it was funny, but it wasn't like you weren't laughing at him. You were just like, cause he was really excited and he wanted to explain everything, but he couldn't find the words, but he was all there. So yeah, it was cool.
Exactly. So there it is, guys. Please come out on stage. So, all right, guys, I believe that's it for this episode of Status Quo. We are going to wrap this up. Queasy Crayfish, you have any closing words?
No. Check out the next episode next Monday. SoundCloud. That's where you're at, unless you're on YouTube.
Exactly, and we will be there too. So, we want to thank all you guys for tuning in and listening. This is pretty much going to probably be the end of our E3 coverage. So look out for us next week with brand new set of topics, brand new set of things to, rant about.
And flake news.
And some flake news. So there it is. This is Mars Vindicator.
Queasy Crayfish.
And we're out.